Hello and warm regards from Next Ties team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. Today is 14 November and let's see the topics that we are going to cover today. The first topic that we are having is about India's carbon emission have slowed down in 2025 as compared to 2024. The second topic is draft seed bill for which government is sorting public opinion. The third topic is about the Saranda Forest in which Supreme Court has given certain guidelines to Jharkhand government. The fourth topic is about the disease Hepatitis A and Typhoid. And lastly, we are going to see how bottoms-up approach can be helpful in combating climate change, in which we are going to study a case study which is trying to fight the climate change through a bottoms-up approach. So let's start with the first topic. The first topic that we are having is India's carbon emissions have slowed down. Now, what is the context here? The context is a report published by the Global Carbon Project, and the relevance is GS paper 3, conservation, environment, pollution and degradation. Now let's see what is the news that is saying. The news is saying that India's carbon emission growth will be only 1.4% in 2025 as compared to 4% growth in 2024. So here you should be aware that there is going to be a growth. जैसे in 2024 only 3.19 billion tons of CO2 was released. For 2025 it will be 3.2 billion tons. So जो growth है यानी जो change आया that has slowed down. अगर हम इसको 2023 से कंपेयर करेंगे, so between 23 and 24 the growth was 4% and between 24 and 25 the growth will be 1.4%. So it means to say जिस रेट से हमारा इंक्रीज होता है कार्बन एमिशन का वो रेट अब इंक्रीज होगा या हुआ है इन 2025. तो दिस इज द न्यूज हियर. नाउ अगर हम ग्लोबल लेवल पे बात करें तो कार्बन एमिशन दो तरह से होता है. एक होता है हमारा लैंड यूज की वजह से, दूसरा होता है हमारा फॉसिल फ्यूल की बर्निंग की वजह से. नाउ ड्यू टू फॉसिल फ्यूल बर्निंग द ग्रोथ रेट फॉर ग्लोबली यानी ऑल ओवर ग्लोब की बात कर रहे हैं इट विल बी 1.1% एंड द टोटल एमिशन विल बी 38 to 38.1 बिलियन टन्स ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. अगर हम ओवरऑल की बात करें यानी कंबाइनिंग बोथ फॉसिल एंड द लैंड यूज इट विल बी अराउंड 42 बिलियन टन्स ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड दैट विल बी रिलीज इन 2025. नाउ ये रिपोर्ट कौन रिलीज करता है? द रिपोर्ट इज रिलीज्ड बाय ग्लोबल कार्बन प्रोजेक्ट एंड ये रिपोर्ट का नाम है ग्लोबल कार्बन बजट एंड इट इज पब्लिश्ड इन द नेचर मैगजीन. सो दिस इज द न्यूज हियर. नाउ इफ वी कंपेयर इंडिया विद द अदर कंट्रीज, फॉर एग्जांपल चाइना, they have 12 billion tons of carbon that is released every year. USA it will be 4.9 billion tons of carbon that will be released and India it's standing at the third position. India's total emissions are 3.2 billion tons. Now अगर हम overall की बात करें तो it seems to be very large one, but if we compare on the per capita basis का मतलब ये है कि अगर population wise हम देखें तो हमारा carbon emission बहुत ही ज़्यादा कम है. In the top 20 economies, we are at the second last number in terms of per capita emissions. Our per capita emission is only 2.2 tons per year. If we compare with USA, it is 14 to 15 tons per year. So USA की terms में we are, the USA is emitting 7 times more in terms of per capita as compared to India. यानी इंडिया अगर USA के लेवल पे emit करना शुरू करे तो India's total emission will be very very high. So per capita यानी per person के basis पे our emissions are very very low as compared to any other economy. With respect to China, China's per capita emission is 8 to 9 billion tons per year. Then European Union it is 7 to 8 tons per year. At the global average is 4.5 to 5 tons per year. So global level पे भी we are less than the global average. So that is a good point for India that we have a very large population. That's why our emissions are at the third position, and our per capita emission is very very less. Now next is why India's emissions have slowed down in 2025. इसके दो basic reason है. One reason is climatic reason. Second reason is a structural reason that we have done. The climatic reason is that because monsoon onset was early this year. Monsoon came early in the country this year. अब monsoon के early आने से क्या होगा? तो पहली चीज जो होगी वो ये होगी कि जो हमारी कूलिंग डिमांड है दैट विल बी लेस, बिकॉज मॉनसून अगर जल्दी आया है तो हीट विल बी लेस, दैट्स व्हाई द कूलिंग डिमांड विल बी लेस, यानी एसी का यूज होगा कम. व्हेन एसी यूज और द कूलिंग डिमांड विल बी लेस देन इट विल बी हैविंग अ नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट ऑन द डिमांड ऑन द पावर. यानी पावर भी हमें कम चाहिए होगी, जिसकी वजह से कोल बर्निंग या कोल कंजम्पशन विल ऑल्सो बी लेस, सो एमिशंस आर गोइंग टू रिड्यूस. Secondly, where we are having early onset of the monsoon, that means the irrigation demand is also going to decrease because irrigation can now be fulfilled through the monsoon itself. So उसकी वजह से भी carbon consumption हो जाएगा कम. So this is the climatic reason, because the monsoon was good this year, the monsoon onset was also early this year, that's why the overall power demand or the electricity demand has decreased. The second thing is the renewable energy expansion. Now we have increased our renewable energy and it is now more than 50% of the total energy capacity that India is having. So that has also impacted positively in reducing the overall growth of the carbon emissions for 2025. So these are the two important reasons for decline in the growth rate of the carbon emission for the country. Next thing is, if we compare for the last 20 years, so from 2005 to 2014, the average annual growth was 6.4%. In the next decade, that is 2015 to 24, the average annual growth is 3.6%. So that is again a positive sign for us. Next is, what are the reasons due to which there has been this decrease? First of all is the base effect, because our economic base has now increased. Second is the structural improvement in terms of energy efficiency and renewable penetration. अगर आप energy efficiency को देखना चाहें तो now we are using LED bulbs. Energy saving हर एक के ऊपर होती है. Now there is more inclination towards a 5-star rated product, so that's why our energy efficiency has increased. Secondly, solar expansion, wind power expansion and renewable energy expansion has also been more, and we have now increased our share of renewable energy more than 50% in the total energy capacity or total power capacity of the country. So this has attributed to decline in the annual growth rate of the carbon emissions. Next is land use emission. So the permanent deforestation at the global level that is now causing 4 billion tons of carbon emission. Removal by afforestation and forest growth will offset only about half of these emissions. In 2025, land use CO2 emission are expected to decline, stabilizing the total carbon emissions. The next is global comparison for the growth of carbon emission 2025 projection. China's growth for the carbon emission will be only 0.4%. United States, it is 1.9%. And that is basically due to the Trump's policies of the climate denialist model. Now Trump is giving more preference to the economic growth rather than to the climate change that we are seeing. Then European Union, they are also seeing a growth of only 0.4%. If we see the global fossil fuel wise emission growth, so carbon is contributing 0.8%, oil 1% growth has been seen, and natural gas 1.3% growth is seen in the total carbon emissions. Now next is carbon budget and 1.5 degree threshold. As we know that our target to limit the climate change or to limit the global temperature increase is up to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now experts are saying that the remaining carbon budget for getting to this 1.5 degree warming, it is only 170 billion tons of CO2. And if we see today's context, when we are releasing 42 billion tons of CO2 in 2025, by that level, within 4 years, we are going to exhaust this limit. Second thing is that if we this 1.5 degree limit will be affected in negative manner, because we are now losing our carbon sinks, because ocean as well as land absorb a lot of carbon. When the rise of this CO2 emissions is there in the atmosphere, due to this the capacity of land and ocean sinks to absorb carbon, that is also declining. So the experts means to say that we are going to achieve or we are going to surpass this 1.5 degree threshold before the stipulated time. So with this, we conclude for this topic, and you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. And let's move to the second topic. The second topic we are having is Draft Seed Bill 2025. The context is that the government has invited public comments on the Draft Seed Bill of 2025. So here we are going to see what are the important provisions here and what are the objections by any stakeholder. Relevance is GS paper 3 agriculture, and the technical mission part of the agriculture can also be included here. Now let's see what is the news. The news is that the center has released the Draft Seed Bill 2025 after 2 unsuccessful efforts. First was in 2004, now second effort was in 2019. Now, what is who has prepared this bill? This bill has been prepared by the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, and it is going to replace the Seed Act of 1966 and the Seed Control Order of 1983. So these two things are going to be replaced by this draft seed bill. Now, public comments are valid till December 11, 2025. So if you're studying this bill, you can post your comments, you can give your suggestions to the government till December 11, 2025. Now let's see what are the various provisions and what are the objectives of this bill. The first and foremost objective of the bill is to regulate and ensure the quality of the seed and the planting material available in the market. तो ये किसी भी चीज का पहला ऑब्जेक्टिव होगा. Second क्या होगा? Because farmer is more centric in the context of agriculture, so the farmer will be guaranteed high quality seeds at affordable price. So again second वाला ही बहुत generalistic है. Third क्या होगा? To prevent the sale of the spurious or the low quality seeds. So we have to ensure quality seeds in the market. For that we need to prevent the spurious or the low quality seeds reaching to the market. Fourth one is that liberalize the seed import. जब सीड इंपोर्ट्स को हम लिबरलाइज करेंगे तो उससे क्या होगा? इनोवेशन भी आएगी और ग्लोबल वैरायटीज भी इंडिया में इंट्रोड्यूस होंगी. सो दैट इज गोइंग टू इंप्रूव इंडियाज सीड मार्केट. देन फोर्थ इज एनहांसिंग ट्रांसपेरेंसी, अकाउंटेबिलिटी एंड सीड सप्लाई चेन इंटीग्रिटी. सो सीड सप्लाई जो चेन जो है उसमें ट्रांसपेरेंसी और अकाउंटेबिलिटी को इंश्योर करना. देन प्रोटेक्टिंग द फार्मर फ्रॉम इकोनॉमिक लॉसेज ड्यू टू सीड फेलियर. सीड फेलियर कब होता है? जब वी आर हैविंग low quality seeds. So if we are able to ensure that the farmer is getting good quality of seed in a transparent and accountable manner, then the economic losses that he can encounter due to seed failure will be minimal. Then promoting ease of doing business by decriminalizing the minor offenses. Because जब minor offenses को हम criminalize करते हैं तो उससे innovation कहीं ना कहीं hamper होता है. So now this we are going to see that in this draft bill the various offenses have been categorized as major, minor and trivial, and for minor and trivial offenses the penalty has been now reduced or has been eliminated. Now let's see the provisions. The first one is mandatory registration. So whoever is selling, that is dealers and distributors, have to register themselves with the state level registration certification authorities. The second is that mandatory registration has to be done for all the seed varieties. So पहला registration किसका होगा? Of the dealers and the distributors. Secondly, जो भी seed वो distribute कर रहे हैं तो उन seed varieties का भी registration हमें करना होगा. But there is some exemption also. There are farmer varieties and the export varieties जो सिर्फ export की जाएंगी, उसके लिए registration की जरूरत नहीं है. Then existing seed varieties जो already register हो चुकी हैं तो उनको भी दोबारा से register करवाने की जरूरत नहीं होगी. Then second is quality standards have also been defined. Now they say that India is going to have India's minimum seed certification standards. और इनके जो parameters होंगे, the parameters will be germination level, genetic purity, physical purity, seed health and trait performance. So इनके basis पे we are going to have Indian minimum seed certification standards and उसी के basis पे आपको seed certificate दिया जाएगा. Then next is import provision. Imports have been allowed, but they need to be registered. Secondly, there are conditionalities also. So import of the unregistered varieties will only be allowed if they have to go for research and trial purpose, and that has to be done under defined condition. Then industrial structure. It is going to establish a central and a state seed committee, and उनके roles, उनका coordination, उनकी responsibilities, everything will be defined. So new committees, that is state and seed committees, will also be established. Then penal provisions. So first of all, जो भी offenses होंगे उनको 3 parts में divide करेंगे हम लोग. पहला होगा trivial, then minor and major categories. Now penalty will be for the major categories. So major offenses क्या क्या होंगे? The major offenses will be sale of spurious seeds. देखो हमने ऑब्जेक्टिव में देखा है ना कि वी हैव टू प्रिवेंट द सेल ऑफ स्पूरियस एंड द लो क्वालिटी सीड्स. सो उसके लिए पेनल्टी क्या है कि पहली चीज तो मेजर ऑफेंस में गिना जाएगा. देन सेल ऑफ नॉन रजिस्टर्ड सीड वेराइटीज टू इंश्योर दैट रजिस्ट्रेशन हो सीड वेराइटीज का. तीसरा क्या है? ऑपरेटिंग एज सीड प्रोड्यूसर, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, डीलर, सीड प्रोसेसर और नर्सरी विदाउट रजिस्ट्रेशन टू इंश्योर दैट एवरीवन इज रजिस्टरिंग. सो दीज 3 आर मेजर ऑफेंसेस एंड इनकी जो पेनल्टी होगी वो ये होगी 30 lakhs की फाइनेंशियल पेनल्टी भी हो सकती है या फिर अप टू 3 lakhs ऑफ imprisonment भी हो सकता है if you are registered under major offenses. Now next it's your turn to attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box and we move to the third topic. So इसको attempt करो और आंसर डालो कमेंट बॉक्स के अंदर. The third topic we are having is Saranda Forest. Now जो Saranda Forest है ये न्यूज में इसलिए है because Supreme Court has directed Jharkhand to notify Saranda Forest as wildlife sanctuary. So in the coming time we are going to see that a new wildlife sanctuary is being added, that is Saranda Forest. What is the relevance? Again GS paper 3, conservation, environment, pollution, degradation, environment impact assessment. So basically ecology point of view se, and this news has been covered by both Hindu as well as the Indian Express newspapers. So let's see the news. The news is that Supreme Court has directed Jharkhand to notify Saranda Forest as the wildlife sanctuary. Supreme Court has said that Jharkhand government has to declare the 31,468.25 hectares of land as a wildlife sanctuary. Now इसकी लोकेशन क्या है? The location is in the lower part of the Jharkhand. इस वाले रीजन में इसकी लोकेशन है सरांदा फॉरेस्ट की. Now if you remember, झारखंड एंड बिहार वर यूनिफाइड अंटिल 2002. उसके बाद झारखंड को हमने कार्व आउट किया था बिहार से. So before that Saranda was recognized as Saranda Game Sanctuary by the unified Bihar in 1968. Now next is, what is the ecological and social significance of this Saranda? So these Saranda forests are famous for the sal trees, or they are the sal forest, and sal is a very very important tree. They are home to endangered and endemic species like sal forest tortoise, then four-horned antelope, then Asian palm civet and wildlife elephants. So seeing that it has a very good, it has a very important ecological significance, Supreme Court has given the guideline to Jharkhand that this particular forest should be recognized as a wildlife sanctuary. And why the Supreme Court has given this guideline? Because the Saranda is having major iron reserves of the country, and these iron reserves are being mined, and उसकी वजह से ecological जो impact है वो बहुत ज़्यादा है. उसके साथ साथ we have tribal population also there. For example, Ho, Munda, Orans and allied Adivasi communities are also residing in this forest. So these mining activities are having negative impact upon the ecology as well as upon the tribal communities which are residing in these forest. Next thing, mining importance, मैंने आपको बता दिया है, it is having the India's major iron ore reserves in this particular region. Mining here supplies major steel plants like SAIL and Tata Steel. So इस context में amicus curiae ने ये कहा है Supreme Court को, he has recommended that the Supreme Court should take in cognizance because it is having a very very high mining significance in context of a very important resource, that is iron ore. So उस context में Supreme Court को amicus curiae ने recommend भी किया है कि अगर इस पूरे एरिया को हम लोग अगर सेंचुरी मान लेंगे तो it is going to affect the mining linked employment as well as economics of the country. Next is Supreme Court की क्या guidelines है? Supreme Court की guidelines बिल्कुल simple है, that this whole area 31,468.25 hectares has to be declared as a wildlife sanctuary, and this has to be declared within 3 months. Legal basis क्या है? First of all, constitutional provision, you should be knowing about them. Article 14A, 48A and 51AG. Then section 26A of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Then recommendations of the Wildlife Institute of India also. उसके साथ साथ protection of the mining. It has reiterated its judgment in the Goa Foundation 2023 case, in which no mining inside the national park and wildlife sanctuary will be allowed. Secondly, no mining within 1 kilometer area of the boundary of a national park or wildlife sanctuary will be allowed. So this is the legal recommendation and the judgment given by the Supreme Court. अब उसके बाद हम लोग आते हैं कि what about the protection of the tribal rights? So Supreme Court has said that Jharkhand government has to ensure awareness about the tribal communities, that by declaring this area as a national park, the individual and the community rights under the Forest Right Act will not be affected. So the awareness campaign has to be done so that the public protest against this declaration of national park should not be there. Then the national policy context में भी Supreme Court ने ये कहा है कि जो हमारी national wildlife action plan है, that also says that we need to expand the protected area network. Also, we have to ensure in situ conservation of the threatened species. Also, immediate conservation to the critical habitats such as Saranda should be ensured. So ये उसने legal basis दिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने for this judgment. The next is sal tree forest or Soria robusta. Now, what is the ecological significance? It is a keystone species of the moist deciduous forest. So one thing that you should be knowing is that this sal forest are the tropical moist deciduous forest. And ये कहाँ मिलते हैं? Eastern Himalayas, Central India and the Eastern India. It provides a unique structure and biodiversity for the forest. Now, soil conservation में they have a very important role. Soil erosion को रोकना हुआ, landslides को रोकना हुआ या rapid runoff को रोकना हुआ, उसमें इसका एक important significance है. उसके साथ they are long living, that's why they act as significant carbon sink. So they have a very important role in carbon sequestration because the life of these trees is very, very long. They also provide habitat for the wildlife. They support rich flora like elephant, deer, sloth, bear, wild boars and birds. They are integral to the ecosystem like Saranda Forest, Dudhwa, Shivpuri, Chota Nagpur Plateau, etc. Then climate change adaptation may be important because they maintain microclimate stability in the forested areas. Then next is economic significance. Their timber is very, very valuable. They are hard, durable and termite resistant timber. जिस वजह से they are widely used in furniture, shipbuilding, railway sleepers and in construction. Their leaves are also very important. Their leaves are used for leaf plates and for making leaf plates and bowls. Then also they are used in packaging industry and that's why, because leaves भी इसके important है और timber भी इसकी important है, that's why they form a very important source for the non-timber forest produce. They have a very useful variety of resins and oil. The sal resin and sal oil is used in the cosmetics, soap and Ayurvedic medicines. The seed oil or sal fat or shoria butter is used in food and confectionery industries. So this is the significance or importance of the sal trees. Then they are important for this tribal livelihood because वहाँ से non timber forest produce हमें मिलता है. Also they have cultural and religious value. So this is the significance of the sal trees. उसके साथ एक important चीज और भी है. Sal forest जो है वो elephant migration के important routes बनाते हैं. So कहीं ना कहीं ये animal और human conflicts में भी significant role play करते हैं. They are also indicators of the forest health because sal do not regenerate very well when there is disturbance. So जहाँ जहाँ पे sal forest हैं, that means those areas have not been disturbed. So in this context, Supreme Court has said कि already ये forest को भी हमने disturb नहीं किया है. That's why Jharkhand government should ensure that the Saranda forest should be included or should be declared as a wildlife sanctuary. Now next, it's your turn. Attempt this MCQ based upon the discussion that we have done and put your answers in the comment box. And let's move to the fourth topic. The fourth topic we are having is about disease hepatitis A and typhoid. अब context क्या है? The context is that in the universal immunization program that we are having, the government is considering that they are going to include typhoid under that. And this article has been published that typhoid के साथ साथ we should also see that hepatitis A is also included in this universal immunization program. So in this context we are having this topic. Relevance क्या है? GS paper 3 health and science and technology. So let's see the news. The news is that India is debating inclusion of typhoid conjugate vaccine in the universal immunization program. In this context, hepatitis A is also a very, very important disease that is affecting India because it is a growing cause for the acute liver failure, which also deserves a higher priority in inclusion in this universal immunization program. So India is already having a safe, effective, long-lasting indigenous hepatitis A vaccine. So इसको immunization program में include करना और easy होगा हमारे लिए. So basically, what is the theme of this particular article? The theme is that although typhoid को हम लोग include कर सकते हैं universal immunization program के अंदर, but hepatitis A is also an important disease जिसको हमें consider करना चाहिए to be included in this UIP. Now let's go to this hepatitis A. Why hepatitis A should be included? First of all, we see that hepatitis A अगर early childhood में affect करता है तो it develops a lifelong immunity. So जो भी वैक्सीन हम प्रोवाइड करेंगे hepatitis A के लिए, it will be having a lifelong immunity. Secondly, we have, due to improved hygiene and sanitation, अर्ली चाइल्डहुड एक्सपोजर जो है हेपेटाइटिस ए का वो हमने काफी हद तक रिड्यूस किया है. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट वी आर हैविंग मोर अडोलेसेंट एंड अडल्ट वनरेबल टू दिस पर्टिकुलर डिजीज. एंड जब ये अडल्टहुड में या अडोलेसेंट एज में अगर हेपेटाइटिस ए होता है तो इट इज मोर लीथल, इट इज अफेक्टिंग in a more negative manner. So there is a high risk of severe disease in this particular age group. And if we see the recent outbreaks of Kerala, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Delhi, it is highlighting the importance of including hepatitis A in the UIP. Now, this hepatitis A, the seroprevalence has declined from 92% to 62% in the urban areas. A large pool of susceptible young individuals have now emerged. Hepatitis A is no longer a mild childhood infection but now is emerging as a public health threat. So this presents a case for including hepatitis A in the UIP. Now let's go about the advantage. If we include hepatitis A in the UIP, what advantage we are having? First advantage is that hepatitis A is fully vaccine preventable. So अगर हम वैक्सीन देते हैं तो हम एक और डिजीज का इफेक्ट जो इंडियन पॉपुलेशन पे उसको रिड्यूस कर पाएंगे. It is both life attenuated and inactive form of vaccine that are available. Then next is India has an indigenous vaccine itself, so उसकी cost भी कम होगी. So we are having a BioVac A which is indigenous and indigenous vaccine and which is having an excellent safety and efficacy for last 2 decades. Also there is no concern for waning immunity or antibiotic resistance or carrier states. Then single dose of live vaccination provides durable protection. So देखो कभी भी हम लोग जब UIP यानी यूनिवर्सल इम्यूनाइजेशन प्रोग्राम को अगर हम देखेंगे तो वी हैव मेनी कंसर्न. फर्स्ट वन इज दैट इफ वी आर इंट्रोड्यूसिंग एनी वैक्सीन व्हाट विल बी द कॉस्ट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर वैक्सीन. तो उसका कॉस्ट इंक्रीज होता है अगर किसी एक डिजीज को इंक्लूड किया जाए. सेकेंड थिंग जो होगी वो क्या होगी कि अगर हमने वो वैक्सीन इंक्लूड की है तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि वो वैक्सीन देने के बाद हमें रिपीटेडली उसको देना होगा. नहीं, ऐसा इस हेपेटाइटिस का बिल्कुल नहीं है. इट इज हैविंग अ लाइफ लॉन्ग इम्यूनिटी इन दैट. So in that context also hepatitis A is fitting for this UIP program. So the UIP, those hepatitis A is meeting all criteria for an ideal public health vaccine, safe, effective, life long lasting and India made. थर्ड जो क्राइटेरिया हमारे पास आता है वो ये आता है कि व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर डिजीज. वो कितने लोगों को अफेक्ट करती है, उसका क्या नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट होता है ओवरऑल पॉपुलेशन पे. सो नाउ द सिवियरिटी ऑफ दिस हेपेटाइटिस ए इज इंक्रीजिंग बिकॉज इट इज नाउ अफेक्टिंग द अडल्ट्स मोर. सो उसकी वजह से दे आर हैविंग इकोनॉमिक बर्डन अपॉन देम. एक तो द एक्टिव नंबर ऑफ वर्किंग आवर्स आर बीइंग रिड्यूस्ड, देन हेल्थ एक्सपेंडिचर भी उनका इंक्रीज होता है और कैपेसिटी के ऊपर भी इफेक्ट पड़ता है. सो इन दिस कंटेक्स्ट हेपेटाइटिस ए कैन बी इंक्लूडेड इन यूआईपी. नाउ लेट्स सी टाइफॉइड वर्सेस हेपेटाइटिस ए. अगर हम टाइफॉइड के साथ ही कंपेयर करें तो टाइफॉइड के अंदर मोर्टेलिटी इज मैनेजेबल विद एंटीबायोटिक्स. वो हेपेटाइटिस ए के साथ देयर इज नो क्योर एज सच. सो इट इज नॉट हैविंग एनी स्पेसिफिक ट्रीटमेंट फॉर हेपेटाइटिस ए, ओनली वैक्सीन इज द प्रिवेंशन. Resistance is a concern but disease severity lower with the treatment in case of typhoid. Hepatitis A it is affecting all socio-economic groups. It is increasingly affecting older children or adults, which makes the disease more severe. So on disease burden, vaccine durability, cost effectiveness and pragmatic simplicity, hepatitis A ranks higher. Considering the low hanging fruit among vaccine preventable diseases, hepatitis A can be included in UIP. Now something about hepatitis A. First of all, hepatitis A होता है वैक्सीन की वजह वायरस की वजह से, and virus here is a RNA virus that you should be knowing. So it is a RNA virus from Picornaviridae family. So that is important for us. It is highly contiguous and is vaccine preventable. Transmission is fecal-oral route, that means food और water के थ्रू ये transmit होता है. It spreads through poor sanitation, close person-to-person contact और infected फूड हैंडलर्स. तो यानी पर्सन टू पर्सन ये कम्युनिकेबल डिजीज में आएगी. देन नेक्स्ट इज हेपेटाइटिस ए. डिजीज पैटर्न कैसा रहेगा? फीवर विल बी देयर, मलाइज, जॉन्डिस, नोशिया, एब्डोमिनल पेन विल बी आल्सो बी देयर. सो इट इज यूजुअली माइल्ड इन चिल्ड्रन बट सिवियर इन द एडोलसेंट्स और अडल्ट्स एंड कैन लीड टू एक्यूट रिस्क फेलियर. देन नेक्स्ट इज टाइफॉइड. टाइफॉइड इज अ बैक्टीरियल इन्फेक्शन and which bacteria leads to typhoid? It is Salmonella typhi. Transmission again is through fecal-oral route and it is again a communicable disease. Clinical features include gradual onset of the persistent fever, abdominal pain, headache, constipation, diarrhea, typhoid rash, etc. Now, one concern for typhoid is the increasing drug resistance. So, we are seeing multi-drug resistance as well as extensively drug resistance in case of typhoid. यानी जो हम एंटीबायोटिक्स लेते हैं उसकी वजह से टाइफॉइड बैक्टीरिया की जो रेजिस्टेंस है रिगार्डिंग दिस एंटीबायोटिक्स इज इंक्रीजिंग, सो दैट इज एन एरिया ऑफ कंसर्न फॉर द कंट्री. नाउ प्रिवेंशन कैसे हो सकता है? So we are having vaccines for the typhoid, like typhoid conjugate vaccine. This TCV vaccine is being considered to be included under UIP. Then we have live oral TY21A vaccine, VI polysaccharide vaccine. Public health measures भी हमें लेने होंगे, for example safe drinking water, sanitation, food hygiene, hand washing and preventing carriers, because ये communicable disease है. तो उस context में we have to take care of the hygiene and sanitation. Then if we talk about how many people are being affected, so around 3 million cases are there for typhoid every year. The higher risk is for the children itself. The urban hotspots include Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad. तो जहाँ भी unhygienic condition होगी वहाँ हमें typhoid देखने को मिलेगा. Then seasonal spikes भी होंगे, जैसे monsoon और post monsoon में the typhoid is more prevalent. Now it's your turn. Attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box, and let's move to the last topic of the day. The last topic we are having is bottoms up approach for the climate change. That's very interesting because climate change में now we are having COP30 that is going on in, you have to tell me, कहाँ पे COP30 is being conducted, because we have discussed it 2 to 3 days back also. Now relevance क्या है? Conservation, environment pollution, degradation and environment impact assessment. Now let's see about the news. The news is that Tamil Nadu has presented a new model that is known as sub-state climatic action. अब इसमें तमिलनाडु क्या कर रहा है? तमिलनाडु is doing one thing. It is making district level plans. तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अकॉर्डिंगली प्लान्स बनाए जा रहे हैं. उसमें दे आर कंसिडरिंग विच डिस्ट्रिक्ट में क्या मेजर सोर्स है पोल्यूशन का है, क्या एक्शन वहां पे लिया जा सकता है, वो क्या वहां की स्ट्रेंथ्स है. सेकेंडली देयर इज अ मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट बेस होगा. तो हर एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में वो देखेगा कि जो पर्टिकुलर पैरामीटर्स डिफाइन किए गए हैं, जो पर्टिकुलर मेजर्स डिफाइन किए गए हैं, क्या उन पे एक्शन हुआ और कितना रिडक्शन हुआ क्लाइमेट चेंज में. सो देयर आर 2 मॉडल्स. एक मॉडल होता है ऊपर से नीचे की तरफ, यानी दिस इज अ टॉप डाउन अप्रोच कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से एक प्लान आया एंड दैट इज बीइंग गोइंग टू स्टेट्स, एंड स्टेट्स पे वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुआ, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे वो फिर ब्लॉक लेवल पे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुआ. तो द सेंटर वाज मेकिंग अ प्लान एंड दैट प्लान इज percolating to the grassroots level. But we have seen this thing that India is having a lot of diversity, geographical हो, cultural हो या और कोई diversity हो. So in that context, climate change को टैकल करने के लिए जो ये टॉप डाउन अप्रोच है, that top down approach does not very much resonate at the grassroots level. तो grassroots level पे वो resonate नहीं करती. उसके लिए we need a bottoms up approach, because हर एक एरिया के अंदर अलग प्रॉब्लम्स है, उसके अलग सोल्यूशन होंगे, उसके साथ साथ वहाँ का एक अलग कल्चर है, वहाँ के लोगों की एक अलग अप्रोच है. And if we are going to harness that approach, we are going to harness their strength and we are going to tackle that particular problem, so cumulatively we are going to have a major effect over the climate change resilience or fighting the climate change. So let's see the core philosophy here. The core philosophy is climate action and biodiversity conservation are grounded in the local level leadership. We need to emphasize upon the bottom up governance where policies are implemented and monitored directly at the district and the sub-district level. Climate change is viewed as an opportunity for the sustainable growth, not a constraint. So this is the core philosophy behind the Tamil Nadu's model for the sub-state climate action. Now, bottoms up approach for the climate conservation, उसको अगर हम brief में define करें तो कैसे करेंगे? It is a conservation driven from the local level upwards, ensuring that decisions reflect ground realities, community needs and ecological specificities. तो 3 basic pillars हैं यहाँ पे. First one is ground realities, the community needs and the ecological specificities. Localized, participatory and evidence-led climate governance is going to contribute to this bottoms-up approach for the environment conservation. So let's see, let's study this case study of the Tamil Nadu and then we are going to conclude with that. So first is decentralized climate governance. Tamil Nadu has established a Tamil Nadu Green Climate Company विच इज द नोडल एजेंसी फॉर कोऑर्डिनेटिंग द क्लाइमेट एंड द बायोडाइवर्सिटी इनिशिएटिव। उसके अंडर ये इनिशिएटिव्स लिए जा रहे हैं, वो मल्टीपल मिशंस को इंप्लीमेंट करता है, जैसे क्लाइमेट चेंज मिशन, ग्रीन तमिलनाडु मिशन, वेटलैंड मिशन एंड कोस्टल रिस्टोरेशन मिशन। तो वी हैव तमिलनाडु हेयर। सो तमिलनाडु में जो कोस्टल एरियाज हैं वहां होगा कोस्टल रिस्टोरेशन इशू, जहां जहां भी वेटलैंड्स वहां वेटलैंड इशू होगा, ओवरऑल एक क्लाइमेट चेंज इशू होगा, जहां पे फॉरेस्ट है, जहां पे हिल्स है, वहां पे अलग मिशंस इंप्लीमेंट होंगे। डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल क्लाइमेट एक्शन प्लान विल बी मेड। सो 4 पायलट districts have been selected: Nilgiris, Coimbatore, Ramanthapuram and Virudhunagar. Now they are going to develop their own district specific decarbonization pathways. हम देखेंगे क्यों ऐसा करेंगे वो। Plans will include electrical mobility, waste management, industrial decarbonization and forest restoration. तो पहली चीज तो जो हमारा फॉसिल फ्यूल्स मोबिलिटी है उससे हटके हमें जाना है ईवी व्हीकल्स पे। देन वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, बिकॉज वो लैंड पॉल्यूशन और वाटर पॉल्यूशन भी करता है, उसके साथ साथ एयर पॉल्यूशन भी करता है, तो वो कैसे मैनेज होगा, तो उसके लिए एक प्लान होगा। देन इंडस्ट्रियल डीकार्बोनाइजेशन, because Tamil Nadu is an industrialized state. So in that context, industry specific decarbonization plan is going to be there. Then lastly, forest restoration, because as we know, Tamil Nadu falls in the tropical area near the equator, so it is having a lot of forest also. So in that context, the lost forest, how they can be restored, that will also be one of the major area of concern there. So let's see next part. Next is the real time climate action tracker will be there. So what we are having here, the first element that we are having is, we are going to have a company that is going to implement the plans. Second we are having is, for every district there will be different plans. They are going to have different pathways in which they are going to achieve the decarbonization. Then third thing we are going to have will be a monitoring mechanism, that is a real time climate tracker. A digital dashboard monitors the district progress continuously. Then detailed district GHG inventories. So जो ग्रीन हाउस इन्वेंटरीज है उसकी डिटेल इन्वेंट्री होगी. So emissions will be mapped at the sector and the sub sector levels from transport to the energy. It will help in identifying the highest emitting sector. जैसे अगर नीलगिरी और कोयम्बटूर की बात की जाए तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इज द मेजर एमिटर, तो वहां पे ज्यादा फोकस करना होगा नीलगिरी एरिया में, किसके ऊपर, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के ऊपर. अगर विरुद्धनगर की बात की जाए, बिकॉज इट हैज बीन फेमस फॉर द सीमेंट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, तो वहां पे सीमेंट इंडस्ट्री इज द मेजर कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटर ऑफ द ग्रीन हाउस गैसेज, तो वहां पे हमें उसको डीकार्बोनाइज करना है. देन रमंथपुरम के अंदर वी नीड टू फोकस अपॉन एग्रीकल्चर, क्योंकि वहां पे राइस कल्टिवेशन ज्यादा होता है, एंड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोडक्शन इज ऑल्सो देयर, तो उसको कैसे डीकार्बोनाइज किया जाए, उसको कैसे क्लीन किया जाए. सो with each district or with each area we are going to identify the major emitter, and according to that we have to take action. Then localized net zero pathways have to be created. District can potentially reduce up to 92% of the emission by 2050 using district appropriate solution. For example, Nilgiris के अंदर the target is by 2030, रमंथापुरम के लिए टारगेट 2047 रखा गया है, अदर्स के लिए 2055 रखा गया है. So we are going to have different timelines for the different districts. Then community centric implementation will be there, because we are going for the bottoms up approach. तो उसमें we are going to include local communities in mangrove restoration, wetland protection, afforestation and coastal reservation. Integrated ecosystem restoration will be there. So focus will be in the forest, wetland, mangroves, sea scrapers, coastlines and urban green cover. So see, everything that can contribute has been included there. The planning part at the grassroots level, the strength at the grassroots level, the repository of the emissions at the grassroots level, then the communities, they will be inculcated, and there will be integrated ecosystem reservation. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ कोस्टल एरिया को इंटीग्रेट कर दिया. सो कोस्टल एरियाज में कोस्टल एरिया को भी करेंगे, वेटलैंड को भी करेंगे, कोस्ट लाइन को भी करेंगे, वहां के अर्बन एरियाज को भी करेंगे, तो देयर विल बी एन इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच फॉर द क्लाइमेट, फॉर द रेस्टोरेशन. नाउ इफ वी ब्रॉडन द एलिमेंट्स, वी हैव Panchayati level natural resource management should be there. So there are going to be village climate action plans, जैसे जल जीवन मिशन कमिटीज हैं वो भी इससे कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकती हैं. मनरेगा कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर ड्राइविंग द इकोलॉजिकल वर्क्स, उसको वहाँ पे हम इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं मनरेगा को. देन कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन एंड ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज, बिकॉज ट्रेडिशनली we have the knowledge of the restoration of the environment and ecology, तो उसको हम यूज करेंगे. जैसे sacred groups है, local seed varieties and the traditional water harvesting structures, so they can be utilized for the local level restoration of the ecology. Then next is climate science and data local data systems. The community groups will contribute in the water quality monitoring, pollution monitoring, forest fire tracking, and the wildlife movement and the human-animal conflict reporting. So local communities are being utilized in two manner. फर्स्ट मैनर इज जो नॉलेज उनके पास है उसको लिया जाए, उनके एफर्ट्स को यूज किया जाए सो दैट उनके अंदर भी एक अवेयरनेस है, सेंसिटाइजेशन आए. Thirdly, they can also report that if anything is going wrong to the state government. So in this context, they are going to contribute. Then district environment plans under NGT, waste management, river regeneration, sand mining control, ground water regulation, all will be implemented at the district and the municipal level. Then urban local bodies led action, climate action plan can also be done. Cities can adopt the heat action plan, local biodiversity strategies, electric bus fleets can be implemented, nature based urban water solutions can also be used. Then role of self-help groups and the local cooperatives, for example women-led self-help groups can be used for ecological restoration. तो मैंग्रोव प्लांटेशन के अंदर, प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के अंदर, ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग में, इको टूरिज्म के अंदर द सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप्स कैन ऑल्सो कंट्रीब्यूट. देन डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी एक्सपेंशन वी नीड टू डू, जैसे सोलर सेल्स हुए या विंड मिल्स हुए, दैट कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर द डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी एक्सपेंशन. So these are the efforts that can be taken. Then last is localized disaster risk reduction. For that we need disaster plans formulated at the village level, district disaster management authorities and the coastal community groups. So the climate vulnerability can be reduced by combining the local experience and the scientific forecasting. Now next is bottoms up approach for the conservation. What are the benefits we have? First of all, we are going to have context specific solution. जिस एरिया में जो प्रॉब्लम है उसके अकॉर्डिंगली वी आर गोइंग टू हैव अ सॉल्यूशन. विद दैट वी आर गोइंग टू मेक द कंजर्वेशन इफेक्ट मोर इफेक्टिव. So it is going to address the district specific ecological challenges unlike the broad national policies. Second, it is also going to enhance the accountability because when the in a particular area you cannot say कि ये जो plan है that is not relevant for our district because the plan you are making by yourself, so you have to implement that. So that is happening at the district level. So जैसे Tamil Nadu's climate tracker is there, in that context we can measure the progress made at the local level. Then it is going to strengthen the community ownership. So for example in Delhi itself, every person is facing the problem of this air pollution. So if we are having clean air, our community ownership is also getting enhanced, our trust in the governance is also increasing. So the people what they are protecting, they are also going to ensure that whatever they have created, that is being protected. So if there is ownership of the community, then the people are going to care for that also. Then faster implementation, local authorities can act promptly without waiting for the centralized approvals. Then facilitate the behavioral change. Climate action rooted in local governance improves the awareness and the adoption. So these are the benefits of the bottoms up approach for the climatic conservation. Now we can conclude by saying that a bottoms up approach integrates the district level planning, community participation, granular data and the local ecosystem restoration, and Tamil Nadu presents a very good case for that. So with this we conclude for the day, and you can write this mains answer, and you can bring your answers to us. So with this we conclude for the day, and thank you very much.